Hello everyone, this is Mr. Underkoffler, and today we're going to be looking at the worksheet called Intro to Writing and Graphing Inequalities. We're going to skip numbers 1 through 4 for now. You will eventually do them on your own. Before we begin, I want to do a real quick review of which symbol is which. All right, let's just go with the basics. Do you remember which symbol is the greater than symbol and which symbol is the less than symbol? The one that actually looks like a capital L, rotated ever just so slightly, that is the less than symbol. And this was the trick I tried to teach you the other day to help you to remember. The one that actually looks like a capital L is the symbol that starts with L. And so the less than symbol looks like a capital L rotated, and that's how you can remember that that is the less than symbol. And then the other one, of course, that does not look like a capital L, that would be the greater than symbol. It's very important that you understand that, otherwise you're not going to have the foundation that you need in order to be successful on today's review problems. All right, let's take a look at number 5 together. Again, we're skipping 1 through 4 for now. Let's take a look at number 5. It says the cost of the video game is more than $35. All right, let's break this down piece by piece. The cost of the video game. Do we know what that cost is? No, we have no idea. So we're going to pick a variable called C. And then it says is more than. That means the greater than symbol. And so we already discussed what the greater than symbol looks like. It does not look like the capital L. So this is the greater than symbol. And then we have the 35. Notice the 35 is to the right of the words is more than. Therefore, it must be to the right of the inequality symbol. If you would accidentally put the 35 on the left side of the inequality symbol, it would not mean the same thing. And so it's very important that you have the inequality symbol part of the word problem and the number that comes after it, which in this case would be the phrase is more than 35, that you have it translated in the same order that it is written. And so in this case, that would be greater than, and then to the right of it, the 35. That part must always be translated in the same order that it is written. All right, let's take a look at number 6. No more than 25 people can win the prize. Now, I know it says more than, but you have to be very careful. It says no more than. That means it can't be more than. Well, if you can't be more than, then what can you be? You could be less than or equal to. And so the less than symbol looks like the capital L, rotated a little bit. But to show that it also could be equal to the 25, that's where we put the bar underneath the less than symbol. That means less than or equal to. And again, the reason why that makes sense in number 6 is because it says no more than, which means you can't be more than, but you could be then less than or equal to. Now, where does the 25 have to go? Since the 25 is to the right of the words no more than, then it has to be to the right of the inequality symbol. And I was talking about that on number 5. The part of the problem that means the inequality symbol and the number that comes after it, that part must be translated in the same order it is written. Otherwise, you're translating it wrong. Now, we obviously cannot keep a blank space on the left side of the inequality symbol. So what's going to go there? Well, this is talking about people who can win a prize. Do we know the exact number of people that can win the prize? No, we don't. We know it can be no more than 25, but we don't know the exact number. So we're going to call that a variable. And I chose P because we're talking about people who can win a prize. So I thought P was a logical choice. Let's look at some more problems together. Problem number 7. According to what Mrs. Milbrand said, the length of the paper must be at least 75 words. Ladies and gentlemen, this is really the greatest reason why we are doing this inequality section of this unit. Words like at least 75. These are words you could hear in real life. I mean, Mrs. Milbrand could actually say this in real life. And so you need to know what at least 75 words actually means. The phrase at least means that's the least it's allowed to be. So it could be equal to it, but it could be more. So if Mrs. Milbrand says that your paper better be at least 75 words, that means that's the lowest it's allowed to be. You better be equal to that number, or you better give her more, greater than or equal to, like you saw I just revealed here. Now, where does the 75 have to go? It must go to the right of the symbol because it was to the right of the words at least. Now, what's going to go to the left of it? Well, if you were reading the problem, it was talking about the length of the paper. Do we know the exact length that your paper is going to be? No, so we're going to pick a variable. You can pick lowercase cursive L, like I did here. You could choose W because we're talking about the number of words in the paper. You could choose P, whatever letter you want is appropriate is fine. Problem number 8. At most, 20 students are needed to help at the concert. The phrase at most means that's the most that it is allowed to be. So you're not allowed to go higher than the most. You could be equal to it, or you could be less. So that's why the phrase at most means less than or equal to. And I have to warn you, a lot of kids that I've taught in years past see the word most and they automatically think more than. But when you think about what it means in real life, at most 20 students means that's the most it's allowed to be, so it's less than that number or equal to that number. Speaking of the number was actually written in its verbal word form. So please realize 20 means 20. And since it is to the right of the words at most, it has to be to the right of the inequality symbol. If you put it on the left side, you are not doing it correctly. I keep emphasizing that because it is so important. Now, we cannot leave the left side blank. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about students that are needed to help at the concert. So maybe we choose a variable S or maybe C, maybe H for helping, but that represents the exact number of students who will end up helping at the concert. And let's do one more together. Problem number 9. Fewer than 12 pencils were found. Now, there was a section of the guided notes called Intro to Inequalities that talked about how the words less than or fewer than could sometimes be subtraction, or it sometimes could be the inequality symbol. And I basically taught you if it said is fewer than, then that guarantees it's the less than symbol. But if it just says 12 fewer than, a variable, then it would be subtracting by the number. But there was an exception to that rule. And the exception was if the sentence starts with the words fewer than or less than, then it will mean the less than symbol. Even though it doesn't say is fewer than, since the sentence starts with the phrase fewer than, then it will mean the less than symbol. Same thing goes if it starts with the words less than, it means the less than symbol. Same thing if it starts with the words more than, then it means the greater than symbol. So if a sentence starts with the words that mean an inequality symbol, then those words will translate to the inequality symbol. Same thing you could argue was actually true on number 8, with the phrase at most being at the beginning of the sentence. All right, so where do I put the 12? Since the 12 is to the right of the words fewer than, then it must be to the right of the less than symbol. Must, 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 must. If you put it on the other side, it does not mean the same thing. Now, we're talking about pencils. Do we know the exact number of pencils that were found? No, we know it's fewer than 12, but we don't know the exact number. So we are going to call that a variable. All right, let's have you skip number 10 for now. You will eventually go back and do it. You will also eventually go back and do numbers 1 through 4. But I want to now talk about a real quick review on how you graph inequalities answers on a number line. And so let's quickly talk about this. When the variable is greater than the number, then you are going to go to the right of that number because that's where the greater numbers are always going to exist, always to the right. So keep that in mind for 11 and 12. But if the variable is less than the number, where are the numbers that are less on a number line? They're always to the left. So that's the key to success for shading in the correct direction. You have to be able to read the answer correctly. All right. You also need to understand the order of the numbers that you will put underneath. Like for number 12, we'll put the 27 at the middle. To the left of 27 is always 26. To the right of 27 is always 28. That's the order that positive numbers go in. But on number 11, notice how it says n is greater than or equal to -2. Well, negative numbers do not go in the same order as positives. So we'll still put -2 in the middle. But notice -1 is to the right of -2, whereas -3 is on the left of -2. Positive numbers would not go in that order. If it was +2, then the 1 would be on the left and the 3 would be on the right. But negative numbers go in the reverse order from positives. And this is something you have to keep in mind when you are going to label your hash marks before you actually do the graph. All right, so let's go ahead and start these graphs. Number 11 says that n is greater than or equal to the 2. Or sorry, greater than or equal to the -2. So as I already said, if it's greater than the number, then you are going to go to the right of that number. The same thing applies on number 12. Since it's greater than 27, you will go to the right of the 27 because that's where the greater numbers exist. Numbers like 28, 29, 30, they're all to the right of 27. That's why we're shading to the right, because the problem literally said, if you read it correctly, that x is greater than the 27. Same thing on number 11. N is greater than or equal to the -2. So we're going to the right of the -2. But we need to talk about the starting point. If the inequality symbol has the equal to bar, like it did on number 11, then to show that it's equal, we put a dot, a filled in dot at the starting number. But if it does not have the equal to bar, like you will notice on number 12, there is no equal bar underneath the greater than symbol. Then to show that it can't equal the number, we leave the starting point as an open circle. The open circle means it's not allowed to equal the starting number. So let's see if you can do 13 and 14 on your own. Hit pause on the video, try 13 and 14 on your own. Okay, I hope you've already done 13 and 14 on your own. Let's see how you did. First of all, did you label the numbers correctly? They're both positive numbers, 13's numbers and 14's numbers. So they're going to be your traditional positive order. 35, then 36, and 37 to the right. Same thing with number 14. Put 10 in the middle, 9 will be to the left of it, 11 will be to the right of it. That's the traditional order. That's the order that positive numbers would go in. Now, I hope you realize on 13 and 14, the variable is not greater than the number. It says y is less than the 36. So where are the numbers that are less than 36? Well, I hope you figured out they were to the left of the 36. Numbers like 35 and 34 and so on and so on. Those are the numbers that are less than 36. Similarly, on number 14, k is less than or equal to the 10. So we're going to go left of the 10. That's where the numbers exist that are less than the 10. Numbers like 9, 8, and so on. Now, can you figure out what the starting point should be on 13 and what the starting point should be on 14? Meaning if you're going to put a filled in dot or an open circle. Which one has the equal to bar? It's number 14. It says less than or equal to. That's what that bar means. It's allowed to equal it. But number 13 did not have that equal to bar. So on number 13, it's not allowed to equal the starting number. So we leave it as an open circle. But on number 14, it is allowed to equal the starting number. And so we put it as a filled in dot. The dot means it can equal the number. So if the inequality symbol has the bar, which means it's allowed to equal it, then you fill in the dot. But if it does not have that bar, then you leave the circle open. You do not fill it in. Hopefully that makes sense, and this is a very helpful review, I hope, for you. I have a graded classwork posted in Canvas. At this time, I would like for you to pause this video and go into the graded classwork assignment that I have posted in Canvas and complete it. When you are done with the graded classwork, then you will come back and do the remaining problems on the worksheet that I have temporarily skipped, 1 through 4, 10, and then 15 through 18. And then you will use this video to check to see how you did. So please do the graded classwork now, then come back, do the rest of the worksheet, and then hit play when you're ready to see how you did. Okay, I hope you've already paused this video and you've already done the graded classwork and you've already finished this worksheet. If not, please hit pause now, because now I'm going to go over numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, and the problems at the bottom for the rest of the graphing. So here we go. Let's see how you did, assuming you did these problems on your own. If not, please, please, please hit pause now. Problem number 1 said no more than 45 students can attend the party. If it cannot be more than, then it can be less than or equal to. Where does the 45 go? Well, since it's to the right of the words no more than, it must be to the right of the symbol. Now, we cannot leave the left side blank. Since we're talking about students who can attend the party, then maybe you choose the variable S or P or A, whatever variable you want is fine. Problem number 2, it says the water bill is less than 80. Now, we have no idea what the water bill is, so we could pick a variable for that, maybe W, maybe B. And then it says is less than. That would be the less than symbol. The word is sometimes means equals, but if it's paired with words like less than or more than or at least or at most, then it means the inequality symbol. So is less than is the less than symbol. And then the last thing that the sentence said was 80, so that should be the last thing that you had to the right of the less than symbol, just like it was to the right of the words is less than. Problem number 3, the serving of chips contains no less than 5 grams of fat. Do we know exactly how many grams of fat that the serving of chips contains? No, we do not, so we will pick a variable. You can call it S, you can call it F, because we're talking about grams of fat. You could even call it G if you want to for grams. And then it says the phrase no less than. Now be careful. A lot of kids read this too quickly and they see the phrase less than and they think they're going to put the less than symbol. On the contrary, it says no less than. If it can't be less than, then it can be greater than or equal to. And then of course the 5 is to the right of the phrase no less than, therefore it should be to the right of the inequality symbol. Problem number 4 starts with the words at least, and then it says 15. If you are talking about at least 15, in real life, that means that's the least it's allowed to be, which means you cannot go lower than it. You could be equal to it, or you could be more than it. That's what the phrase at least means. This was also on your vocabulary chart that I gave you on the guided notes called Intro to Inequalities, if you need to look it up. Since the word 15 is to the right of the words at least, then it must be to the right of the inequality symbol. Must, must, must. If you put it on the other side, you are not correct. And then we're talking about students who are needed to help at the Fall Classic Sports event. So we don't know that exact number of students. All we know is that it's at least 15. So we're going to pick a variable. Again, I picked S. I picked S for a lot of these, didn't I? Because a lot of these problems are talking about words that start with S, like students. And so, I picked S. You can pick any variable you want. Problem number 10, the number of students. Here again, number of students. Man, that seems to be popular on this worksheet. Allowed to participate in the competition. So we do not know what that exact number is. Pick a variable. Then it says, now this is a little trickier, is 10 students or less. If it can be 10 students or it could be less, then that means it could equal the 10 or it could be less than the 10. That's why it's the less than or equal to symbol. And then you got to have the 10 to the right of it. And that's how number 10 works. That one was a little bit trickier, a little bit different wording, but you got to think it through and realize what inequality symbol they're talking about. All right, the very last 4 problems you needed to do was 15, 16, 17, and 18 at the bottom. Now, before I go over any of these, I want to point out how on number 17 and number 18, the variable was not written first. When I say first, I'm talking about how we always read going left to right. And so when I say first, I mean whatever is on the left. And on number 17 and number 18, the variable is not written first. And that's a problem, because that means you might have misinterpreted what the answer actually means. And this is very common of students to do when the variable is not written first. So what you should do in scenarios like 17 and 18 is you should rewrite the problem with the variable first. If you do that, then you'll be able to interpret what it means. So on number 17, I would actually, for real, with my pencil, underneath the original problem, I would write down the m first. And then, since you're flipping everything around, you're going to say m is greater than or equal to the 13. Now, why does that matter? Because if you do not do that, you're probably going to see that less than or equal to symbol, and you're going to want to shade to the left. But that's the wrong thing to do. Because if 13 is less than or equal to m, then that really means m is greater than or equal to the 13. And that will then allow you to graph in the correct way. Now, I'm going to assume a lot of you forgot to do that on 17 and 18, even though I did mention it on the third page of yesterday's guided notes. So if you have to hit pause in the video and fix your 17 and your 18, please feel free to do that now, and then hit play when you're ready to see how you did. Okay, for those of you who needed to fix 17 and 18, I hope you already did. Let's now see if you numbered the numbers correctly under the hash marks. Like for 17 and 18, that should not have been a big deal because they're positive numbers. So I'm assuming you put 13 at the middle for number 17, 12 on the left, 14 on the right. Similarly on number 18, hopefully you put 21 in the middle, 20 on the left, 22 on the right. That's your traditional order of positives. But take note, on 15 and 16, they're negatives. Negatives go in reverse order from positive. So please check your hash marks labeling on 15 and 16. Did you remember to put your negatives in reverse order from how positives would go in? If you forgot and you did it in the wrong order, please fix it now. All right, number 15. Since it said that r was greater than or equal to the negative 19, you're going to go to the right of that number. But number 16 says that the u is less than or equal to the negative 5. If it's less than the number, you will go to the left of the number. Now, did you know what to make your starting point for number 15 and what to make your starting point for number 16? Number 16 had the equal to bar. Number 15 did not. So on number 15, to show that it cannot equal the negative 19, we leave the starting point as an open circle. But on number 16, it may equal the negative 5. And to show that it may equal it, we will put a filled-in dot. The dot means it's allowed to equal the number. Problem number 17. I already flipped it around for you and said that m is greater than or equal to 13. So if it's greater than the number, you will shade to the right of that number. Did you flip it around on number 18 so that the variable is written first? We didn't flip anything around on 15 or 16 or 14, 13, 12, and 11 before it because the variable was already written first. But on 17 and 18, it was not originally having the variable written first, so we had to flip the whole thing around. And so hopefully you did that on number 18. Hopefully you said w first, then less than the 21. And since it's less than the 21, that's why you're going to shade to the left of the 21. Now, what about the starting points? Number 17 has the equal to bar. So to show that it can equal it, you're going to put a filled-in dot. Number 18 does not have the equal to bar. So we will leave the starting point as an open circle. And that concludes the worksheet called Intro to Writing and Graphing Inequalities. Hopefully this was a very helpful review for you. Hopefully you did well on the graded classwork. Thanks for watching this video. We'll see you next time.